When is too much finally going to be too much when it comes to the skyrocketing rates of autism? We're now looking at a staggering 1 in 36 children being diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, and that number is even higher for boys. Just 1 or 2 generations ago, it was like 1 in 1,500. This is no longer something we can afford to brush off with vague answers or outdated assumptions. It's time to get real, dig deeper, and address the root causes of autism instead of continuing to fall back on, we don't know and it's just genetic. If you or someone you care about has a child on the spectrum, chances are the first question asked was, why? And more specifically, is autism genetic? For decades, the narrative has centered around genetics and heredity, assuming they're the primary cause behind the surge in autism cases and the wide spectrum of symptoms. But it's time to rethink that. Today, we're here to challenge those assumptions with an empowered perspective supported by emerging science. Yes, genes matter. There's such a thing as genetic predisposition. But even leading medical professionals and institutions are now finally acknowledging the undeniable role of environmental factors. Unfortunately, that's usually where the conversation stops. Just a broad, generic mention of the environment. But not here. In this video, and in everything we share, we dive deep into the actual triggers and root causes behind autism spectrum disorders. We shine a light on what we call the perfect storm. A complex buildup of stress and dysfunction that overwhelms the nervous system and interferes with healthy development. We now understand that this perfect storm of modern day stressors plays a far greater role than genetics alone ever could. This video is for parents, caregivers, and loved ones seeking more than a generic explanation and band-aid solutions. If you want to truly understand why your child is struggling and what you can do about it, then this is for you. We'll take a closer look at genetic research and why it falls short of explaining the massive rise in diagnoses. Then we'll break down the perfect storm, a series of cumulative stressors that knock the nervous system off track and trigger the challenges we now associate with autism. I'll never forget Evan, a sweet little 3-year-old boy I had the honor of caring for early in my career. After years of battling sleep issues, sensory overload, delayed speech, low muscle tone, constipation, respiratory challenges, you name it, his parents were desperate for answers. A full-day neuropsych eval finally gave them a diagnosis, and with it, a soul-crushing prognosis. They were told there was nothing they could do, that his birth had no connection, his gut issues, irrelevant, diet changes won't help. Just get used to it, they were told. Save your money. One day, he'll be bigger and you'll be older and you'll have to put him in a home. That's what far too many families are being told every day. But the science and the outcomes we've seen in practice, they say otherwise. The idea that autism is purely genetic simply doesn't hold up. There is no single autism gene. Researchers have identified over 100 genes that may contribute to risk, yet clear mutations show up in only 10% of cases. That leaves a lot unexplained. And that's where this gets both fascinating and frustrating. Because the real story is very complex, multi-layered one. The perfect storm looks something like this. You have prenatal and maternal stress, birth trauma, medical interventions, early exposure to antibiotics, medications, and environmental toxins, EMFs, mold, and household chemicals, food additives, skin care, and medications loaded with hidden toxins. Each of these stressors piles on top of the next, pushing the nervous system past its tipping point. For many kids, this results in a locked-in fight-or-flight state, a sympathetic dominant pattern that disrupts brain development, gut health, immune function, and motor coordination. Over time, the core challenges of autism begin to show up. From communication and social interactions to sensory processing and repetitive behaviors. This pattern is no accident. It is a result of the perfect storm. If you've been told your child's autism is solely genetic and that nothing can be done to support their healing, it's time to hear the full story. It's one filled with hope, clarity, and proven drug-free approaches that can make life-changing difference. Mainstream medicine may acknowledge the presence of environmental factors, but they rarely dig deeper, but we do. So tap the link below or in our bio to read the full article, Is Autism Genetic? Get the answers, the action steps, and the empowerment you've been searching for. We're here to help.